New at 9, Madison Police have confirmed that their officers fired shots at a person during an interaction overnight. WMTV's Shannon Najawan was there at the scene in downtown Madison for several hours, where multiple people were detained and one person was taken into custody.
Shots were fired and a gun was recovered at the scene, but police say fortunately no one was shot. The incident happened in a parking lot on the 1400 block of West Gilman Street, just under the James apartment building, and just as people were making their way home from the bars. Dozens of students walking through downtown Friday night into Saturday were surprised to see squad cars surrounding the State Street area, and a frequently used road near the square closed for hours. Joe Grisbeck was eating dinner at a West Gilman Street restaurant just before 11 p.m. when he heard 2 shots.
Yeah, there were a bunch of people running like northeast on Gilman after that, and then they like locked the doors and someone was saying that there was a shooting.
Other students were unable to access their apartment buildings and cars for several hours as MPD ensured the area was safe. Police eventually clearing out early Saturday morning. In the studio, Shannon Najawan, WMTV 15 News.